Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. The U.S. Supreme Court is looking into a data harvesting lawsuit against Facebook. Investors say they were defrauded by the social media company. Florida is giving the state's teachers a huge raise at more than $1 billion. We'll tell you when the money kicks in and other ways the state's supporting teachers. A surprising move in France. Macron dissolves the nation's parliament after Europe shifts right in the weekend's elections. What's next for French politics? Fierce dragons, colorful maidens, and ringing music, all in the setting of an enchanting European city. More on the Tian Guo marching band parade. Big gains for Conservatives in the European Parliament elections. In France, President Emmanuel Macron's party suffered a major defeat, prompting him to call for a snap election.
French President Emmanuel Macron dissolved the country's parliament and called an election. His party is set for a heavy defeat at the hands of Marine Le Pen's National Rally. Exit polls showed National Rally with more than double the share of votes than the ruling party.
For me, who has always considered Europe to be united, strong, independent and good for France, this is a situation that I cannot come to terms with.
And in Germany, the ruling Social Democrats and the Green Party suffered a major blow. That's according to the exit polls. The right-wing Alternative for Germany party came in second. That's as more Germans expressed long-held concerns about the country's immigration policies. In Italy, Premier Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy doubled their seats in the European Parliament. The party advocates for strong national sovereignty, traditional family values, and a tough stance on immigration. In Hungary, right-leaning Prime Minister Viktor Orban's party came out on top, but with less votes than expected. Political newcomer Peter Magyar, who broke from Orban's party earlier this year, led his new party to second place. Magyar is promising to root out corruption and revive democratic checks and balances. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
And as Europe adjusts to its new leadership, what will the snap election in France look like and what could come of it? NTD's international correspondent David Vives has that story.
President Emmanuel Macron dissolved the lower house of France's parliament in a surprise announcement on Sunday, a decision that sends voters back to the polls in the coming weeks to choose lawmakers after his party was handed a humbling defeat by the far right in the European elections this weekend.
I decided to give back to you the choice of our future parliament with a vote. And so I am dissolving tonight our National Assembly.
The executive director of the Paris Center of Political Science says Macron's decision opens a very uncertain period for the next 3 weeks for the parliamentary groups.
Oh, really, it's a shock for many people. And we are now in a situation which is not clear at all.
In the case where the far right wins the elections, he would be compelled to choose a prime minister from Marine Le Pen's Rassemblement National party.
If we have a prime minister of Rassemblement National, of course we will have a lot of ministers and members of the government who will be from the Rassemblement National. It can have a lot of implications for the French political life and even for the voice of France at the level of European life.
Macron's decision to dissolve the parliament amounts to a roll of the dice on his political future and that of France. In the short term, Macron's decision immediately sent the euro down, also hitting on French stocks and government bonds. And were Marine Le Pen to win this new round of elections, Macron would lose his power to set a domestic agenda, ranging from economic policies to security and immigration. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
Today, the Supreme Court is scheduled to look at a class action lawsuit that claims Facebook deceived its investors. It involves a data harvesting controversy with the now defunct political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica.
Cambridge Analytics is accused of misusing subscriber data, according to Facebook shareholders' filing with the Supreme Court. Facebook's parent company Meta agreed to pay out $725 million to settle a class action proceeding. The company permitted Cambridge Analytica and other third parties to access more than 85 million users' personal information without their consent. The incident was made public in 2018. Cambridge Analytica accessed personal data from Facebook accounts to target and profile voters using an app. Supreme Court justices will look to see if a federal appeals court erred in allowing the multi-billion-dollar lawsuit to proceed. It's based on allegations that Facebook at the time inflated share prices by failing to provide adequate disclosure that its user data would be misused. Investors say the controversy contributed to a pair of price reductions in 2018 that forced the company to lose more than $200 billion in market capitalization.
And next, President Biden might give legal status to undocumented immigrants who are married to American citizens. A spokesperson for the Biden campaign commented on the plans today.
President Biden has had to take matters into his own hands by issuing executive actions that will improve the situation at the border because Congress failed to act. And Congress failed to act, again, not because of Democrats, but because of MAGA Republicans.
This comes just days after President Biden issued an executive order aimed at limiting the number of illegal border crossings. A U.S. border official told Reuters that Friday saw a drop in people trying to enter the country illegally. According to him, Border Patrol arrested around 3,100 people crossing illegally that day. NTD can't verify the number, but if accurate, that's down roughly 20% from the days before. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas praised the development. He called it a very big shift in how the government operates the southern border. And Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has agreed to testify before Congress. Bragg indicated it might only happen after a judge sentences former President Trump next month. The Manhattan District Attorney sent a letter to House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan saying he was willing to testify and work with the committee to set a date. Bragg previously resisted calls to appear. Jordan accused Bragg of conducting a political prosecution and asked for his testimony in a letter last month. The DA's counsel said Bragg would be available to testify at an agreed-upon date, but noted the Trump prosecution is not finished. Bragg's office also asked for more information about the scope and purpose of the proposed hearing. And Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs is under investigation. A case was launched by Democratic Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays into an alleged pay-to-play scandal. The probe centers on allegations that Hobbs rewarded a significant political donor with state funds for foster care services. Sunshine Residential Homes, a major donor to Hobbs and the state Democratic Party, is also under scrutiny. Reports indicate Sunshine donated around $400,000 in recent years, including $100,000 to Hobbs's inaugural fund. In return, Hobbs is accused of approving a nearly 60% increase in the daily rate Sunshine charges for foster care, while other providers were denied increases. Republican State Senator T.J. Shop requested the investigation, prompting Attorney General Mays to take action. The governor's office is calling the investigation a partisan attack. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is giving teachers a raise in the state's upcoming budget by more than $1 billion. DeSantis says his administration is also giving cash to teachers to take a training course that teaches civics.
We enacted the Civics Literacy Excellence Initiative, which gives teachers $3,000 if they complete a first-of-its-kind civics training and they earn the newly created Civic Seal of Excellence endorsement to add to their teaching credentials. And so this is a course. We got some of the best scholars from around the country to offer instruction about what are the foundations of America.
DeSantis also says he's made it easier for people who want to become public school teachers to earn their teaching certificates by offering more ways to become certified. And the Port of Baltimore Channel could fully reopen in the next few days. Unified Command originally planned to reopen the 700-foot wide channel this past weekend, But that didn't happen. On Sunday, the Army Corps of Engineers said salvage operators believe they have now fully cleared the area. Authorities are now inspecting the water with sonar and other tools to ensure there are no hazards to navigation. The channel has been closed since late March when a cargo ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, making it collapse into the river. The crash killed 6 construction workers who were on the bridge at the time. And looking abroad, Turkey is set to impose a 40% tariff on Chinese vehicle imports. The country says the tariffs will protect its domestic auto market and maintain its government account balance. Many countries are imposing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. They say automakers in China are heavily subsidized by Beijing's regime apparatus to support a struggling economy. So those countries say it gives Chinese vehicle makers an unfair advantage against the domestic market. Turkey already imposed additional tariffs specifically on Chinese electric vehicles last year. The European Union is also looking at whether to impose tariffs. Turkey plans to charge at least $7,000 in the new tariffs for each Chinese vehicle, and they apply to conventional, hybrid, and electric vehicles. And staying with the Asia-Pacific region, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has warned of a new response against the South if the country continues loudspeaker broadcasts and leaflet scattering across their shared border. Seoul says it has detected the North installing speakers of its own. Here's more.
In a statement carried by Pyongyang's state news agency on Sunday, Kim Yo-jong said that the South, quote, will undoubtedly witness the new counteraction of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea using the North's official name. The South's military said on Sunday it had switched the loudspeakers directed at the North back on, releasing footage of soldiers being trained to use them. It was a follow-through after Pyongyang ignored its warnings about sending more balloons carrying trash towards the South the day before. Kim said of the South's fresh broadcasts, quote, "This is a prelude to a very dangerous situation." On Monday, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said it had detected signs that the North was installing its own loudspeakers. It added the South was not planning to operate its speakers that day, believed to be covered by the green wall seen in this video at the inter-Korean border. The South had not broadcast over the speakers since 2018 under a deal signed by the two Koreas' leaders. The broadcasts usually include world news, information about democracy, and a mix of K-pop music, and the sound is believed to travel a little over 12 miles into the north. As tensions grow on the Korean Peninsula, Seoul officials said South Korea and the United States were holding talks on Monday in the South's capital on better coordinating an allied nuclear response should a war break out with Pyongyang. Meanwhile, Russian media are reporting plans by President Vladimir Putin to visit North Korea in the coming weeks. The Kremlin has stepped up ties with Pyongyang and other countries hostile to the US since the start of the Ukraine war.
When we come back, retail giant Walmart says it's against putting panic buttons in stores, a move that the New York legislature wants to do. And next, fierce dragons, colorful maidens, and ringing music, all in the setting of a magical European city. More on that after the break.
Shen Yun Creations, the streaming platform from Shen Yun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
23 سال
16 سال
عمري ما حفظ
ما داعش كليان برانبر خشكو دایکان یزدی ما کاری که دور دور لهمو چمک دموکراسی و موافقانی مرو و انسانیت او بارو خی که است های به تایبت عراق و سوریه بشه که دگرت و با حالانه که اداره اوباما کرد
ریم بو او هفت روز بو و داعش ذکر
تامبوم كرا قوتينيز قريا بما متشكر بهار في ذا نبو باوان رحمنا
قدامنا سؤالان والخادران نزل باوان ونرستم بس وانا قوبس ناش بجوش باش.
They would literally be auctioned in front of soldiers, and then the soldiers begin to bid.
زارورون همو جيبري تي حمري زارو يدم واسي سيوان همو جيبري
وحشیگریکی تواو عیاره ظلمی که یک جار زور گوره لما افرطانه کرا و تعدایی که زور زوریان لیده که همانه روزانه دست فروشیده.
Imagine being a child, you know, having a child mentality, and these evil people come and wheel you away from the only safety you've ever known.
The 2024 NTD 9th International Chinese Vocal Competition is scheduled to take place at Merkin Hall, Kaufman Music Center in New York from September 18th to 21st. The competition specially invites vocalists from the world-famous Shen Yun Performing Arts to serve as judges. The prestigious Gold Award is $10,000. Chinese vocal artists aged 18 to 50 are welcome to register.
Microsoft and Google will offer free or discounted cybersecurity services to rural hospitals across the U.S. It's a bit to make them less vulnerable to cyber attacks that have disrupted patient care and threatened lives. Microsoft says it will provide free security updates for eligible rural hospitals and security assessments and training for hospital staff. Google will offer free cybersecurity advice to rural hospitals. It will also start a pilot program to match the firm's cybersecurity services with the needs of rural hospitals. The government says the number of ransomware attacks against the U.S. healthcare sector increased by a whopping 128% in 2023 compared to the year prior. And recent ransomware attacks have brought the sector's vulnerability into sharp focus. Chrysler is recalling more than 210,000 vehicles in the United States due to a software malfunction. It could disable the electronic stability control system. Due to the malfunction, the anti-lock brake system control module may disable the electronic stability control system. The recall would affect certain 2022 Dodge Durango and Ram vehicles made by Stellantis-owned Chrysler. Dealers will update the control module software free of charge. And next, the world's largest retailer is saying no to in-store panic buttons for its staff. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's Business Matters.
All right, good afternoon, Steph. Thank you very much, and happy Monday. Today I have a shorter update than normal, and it's about Walmart. So the retail giant is saying that it is against putting panic buttons in stores. And this is a move that the New York legislature wants to require under a new law aimed at keeping retail workers safe. So on Friday, the New York State Senate passed a legislation that would make most big retail chains, and of course that is including Walmart, to put panic buttons in their New York stores where employees can easily access them, or provide staff with wearable or mobile phone activated panic buttons that summon emergency services. Now, the law, which is a reaction to rising threats to store clerks from thefts as well as violence, was already passed by the state's assembly and now goes to Governor Kathy Hochul for signature. Retail groups, though, have criticized the law because installing the panic buttons, first of all, it's going to be costly, and Walmart's top corporate affairs officer told Reuters that the company opposes the panic button idea because it believes there are likely to be many false alarms. So 8 out of 10 times somebody thinks something is going on, there's actually not. And this is according to Dan Bartlett, Walmart Executive Vice President of Corporate Affairs, on Friday. All right, Steph, That's all from me. Back to you.
Thank you, Don. Next up, the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance were on full display as the Tian Guo marching band performed in the heart of Europe over the weekend. NTD's Daniel Monahan was in Prague to cover the performance.
I'm standing on Charles Bridge in Prague, Czech Republic. Today, the Tian Guo, or Divine Law Marching Band, graced the residents of this historic city with its music, energy, and colors.
The Tian Guo marching band is comprised entirely of practitioners of the spiritual discipline Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa. The mission of the band is to present and promote the beauty of the spiritual practice. In Prague on Saturday, the band and parade did just that. Band members and other participants met in Hradčanský Square next to Prague Castle. Parade begins. Descending from the hilltop where Prague Castle resides, the blue-clad drummers slowly wind their way down the historic street. The sounds of the rhythmic percussion instruments set the pace. A float carrying the main book of Falun Dafa practitioners, Zhuan Falun, rolls down the cobblestone hill. Young women dressed in gentle hues of lavender and pink represent delicacy, grace, and femininity, holding lotus flowers as they step gently by. Followed by yellow-robed dragon handlers who bring a majestic beast to life above them. People involved with the parade or its organization share their thoughts on their hopes for the day.
To let people know about the beauty of Falun Dafa and also about the persecution of Falun Gong in China.
What I feel personally that it has really power to bring the peace for Earth, for humanity.
The sounds of the marching band resonate as parade participants walk the cobblestone streets of the majestic city. After some time, the parade reaches Charles Bridge. Passers-by graciously shared their thoughts at seeing the parade.
I think it's beautiful that so many people gathered to walk this long way and to show all these traditional Chinese culture, just to spread the truth about the Communist Party.
Oh, that was amazing. The colour, the spectacular, the passion, the dragons, amazing spectacle.
A parade of vehicles also traveled through Prague on the same day as the marching band. They called attention to the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners at the hands of the Chinese Communist Party.
From Old Town Square in Prague, Czech Republic, Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And in more international news, currywurst promises to be among the most popular stadium foods at the European Championship this summer. Germany is hosting the soccer tournament this year. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the German dish.
Currywurst aficionados will be at home at the European Championship. For Berlin, the sausage is part of the city's identity.
There is hardly a product that stands for Berlin more than the Berlin currywurst. I think that alone characterizes Berlin. We have, I don't even know how many thousands of snack bars all over Berlin, east and west.
Max and Charlotte Knopke first began selling sausages from their portable grill in 1930. The family-run business has since become an institution famous for its currywurst. The recipe is still a closely guarded family secret.
You can't compare our currywurst with any other product that you know as a sausage, because the whole flavor and the whole composition simply speak for themselves and are unique.
Currywurst can be doused in ketchup and sprinkled with curry powder, but some vendors use their own specific curry sauce. Fans will just have to try the different varieties to discover their sausage of choice.
If you come to Berlin, you definitely have to try a currywurst to know what the city is all about.
Currywurst is the best thing you can eat before a game. It gives you the strength to cheer and do everything.
Berlin has proclaimed itself the currywurst capital, despite rival claims from Hamburg and the Ruhr area. Fans at the European Championship will be the judge. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
In more light news, dogs are often called man's best friend, and this next story is a perfect example. It happened just over a week ago in Oregon. A dog ran 4 miles through the wilderness to get help after his master's truck went off the road and into a ravine. The dog made it back to their camp Monday morning. Local sheriff's office says family members went looking for the man and found him, but couldn't get to him because the terrain was so difficult. Authorities were able to pull him out of the ravine, which was several hundred feet deep, using a rope system. He was airlifted to a hospital. There's no word on the man's condition, but the other 3 dogs, which were with him, are okay. The man managed to get out of his truck and spent the night nearby until help arrived. Good for him. Thank you so much for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. Join Tiffany Meyer for the NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific.